Well, I need to welcome you back, and we'll see with the big story for today. We're talking about the issue of flood, or rather flooding, and how much of a disaster is expected to really be for about 50 communities cut across 13 states, as said by no other but Nema yesterday. That warning has been coming, and a series of warnings have been coming on that account. But how really prepared are Nigerians, and especially those citizens cut across those major states that will truly be affected? And taking it further, let's look at Niger Delta states. We're talking about Rivers, Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, and also Delta, and see how much preparedness have already been put in place by the different state governors on account of dealing with this issue. That's what we're having as a major one. I will still have the spokesperson of the Joy Youth Council joining us, and talking of no other person but Comrade Barafa Bedford with the discussion. But before we continue, we need to go get message from our sponsors. And we're talking about Benita Gas, located right here in Ughelli, and definitely you can get them in Warri. But even going to Warri, you can also get them at Okokoko, right here in Delta State. Let's get that message, and when we come back, more discussion centered on the big story for today.
Hey, Willikity, how person want to talk about gas matter? Make Benita gas plant no sit down for a matter. Gas when we say it a light and last well. Now Benita gas plant na filamo. Gas when the full rich mark pek. Now Benita gas plant na filam, and for any type and size of gas cylinder plus all accessories. Now Benita gas plant na the touch lighter. Now every day now Benita gas plant they open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. On top refill matters. Oh yeah, make you visit any Benita gas plant branch. You fit enter inside of Kwisoko off Jakba Road, opposite UBA for PTI Road Efru, Nehemiah Junction, near former Army checkpoint for Okwokoko, all 101 Ajami Moga Ekpe Road, Warri, or 145 Ughelli Patani Expressway by Aviation Junction when carry eye, they look Shikiman, and NNPC roundabout for East Soko Road for Sergeant Quarters for Ughelli. For more information, make you call Benita Gas Plant for 080-6745-7890. Benita Gas Plant. Na God, they our back.
Well, Benita Gas are proud sponsors of the big story on Quest today. But you do know, like I will always insist, the big story is big enough to accommodate all your businesses. So be rest assured, if you come and have that discussion, you might really be reaching all those your lovely customers. But anyway, we'll still with the discussion today, and we're talking about that. Very warning, and we're talking about flood alert by no other but Nema, and how much or what needs to be done and to ensure that more lives and properties are saved on that account. That's why we always have these warnings. That's why we always have these flood alerts. But even if we have them, how really prepared we are, or how useful are these alerts or warning, especially as it concerns the citizens of this great country. Well, let's quickly come back to it, and I really want us to continue on that line, and I'm talking of no other person but Comrade Barafa. Let's look at it now. And one point I want us to start with, because if you are aware of a situation, there's every tendency that you do more and protect yourself, and not just yourself but your property and your family against it. Now, I know you've transversed most of the Niger Delta states on account of being a spokesperson for the Joy Youth Council, and I do know that your council and some of the governors have worked hand in hand in dealing with this issue. But let's talk about awareness. How much of an awareness have the government brought forth, especially as it concerns this issue of flood?
It is. You could see all the adverts that has been going on.
Yes.
It's Nema adverts. I've not seen any government adverts as regards, getting the people aware on the flooding, the impending flooding that is coming, that is already here. You could see now the Delta State governor has set up a committee, 14-man committee. Yeah. What have they really done? What level of awareness have they carried out? Because if there was awareness on this kind of program, at least there should be some adverts, from the state government to reassure the people that this flood is coming. But you guys also have a role to play to ensure that you protect yourself and your immediate family. The same thing with Bayelsa State. A committee has been set up. But the committee, what have they really done? What level of awareness have they created? We always wait for Nema to give us heads up, to give us warning. But the state governors need to, and the local government chairman, they have to be deliberate. to create an awareness for the people. Of course, it's a collective effort.
Yeah.
NGOs also need to now come in and start creating that level of awareness. But of course, here out the people are expecting that there is a once upon a time in every year there must be that day that I must leave my house. Of course, because they are helpless. There's little or nothing. These are capital intensive projects. Because if proper drainage is not done, of course we are below sea level. So if the proper thing is not done, if the waters are not rechanneled effectively away from activities, economic activities, from residential areas, there's little or nothing the people can do. What they can do is to clear their gutters and ensure that their gutters are clean for safe passage of water. But of course, the flood, it's defied that principle of gutterism. But of course, the people who are handicapped, there's little or nothing that they can do. They are just waiting and hoping that this flood should not come. And Nema said it to, please God, this flood should not come. They resulted to prayer. Whereas the state government that is saddled with the responsibility of protecting life and property is lying fallow, is sleeping. Because no level of awareness and nothing tangible, nothing tangible, because they are waiting for palliative economy to store in warehouses. We have seen situation of how palliative are being stored in warehouses over a period of 2 years, 3 years. Waiting, what are they keeping those palliative for? Waiting for another, campaign season where they can now distribute those rice and this. So it's quite offensive, and it is an illegality. It has indeed endangered the human rights, processes of the citizenry, and we are helpless. There's nothing that anybody can do about it.
Okay, now let's look at, we do know it's more like now becoming a yearly occurrence. We had it last year, and previous year before that on the mining it was not that much, and the last time we also had it this tough was in 2012. But after that 10 years break, it's now looking like it's now more of a yearly occurrence. But let's look at the lives that have been affected last year, and look at also the basic infrastructures that were destroyed on account of the flood last year. And let's take our step back. Maybe at least if we can go back, we can now know how we can come forward. Let's look at how the people, especially citizens, and also basic amenities that were affected have they been able to rearrange, reform, and re-strategize or refocus their life from the past last year?
My brother, the last year, the devastating effects on even our east-west road. Up till now, vehicles still have accidentally involved in accidents because the roads are left undone, completely neglected.
Which in particular?
The east-west road from if you are going from Ugeli to Patani, okay, the road is broken. The 2 or 3 places is broken. Then if you now move ahead to Bayelsa area, it is broken. If you are going to Port Harcourt, it is broken. And if you now from Eleme down, it is nothing to write home about. The road is completely destroyed, and nothing has been done. The last time we heard that the government, approved over 200 billion naira for, is it 20 billion or 200 billion, as the case may be, for the reconstruction of that road. And up to now, they just pour gravel, and make it just put rough part, and nothing is being done. That road, those areas where the flood ravaged, it is expected that the government will do a drainage system, gutters, because those are water passage areas that they did not now do those mini bridges, and they just stone based everywhere, and the water, of course, must find a level. So the water has opened those areas. It is expected that the federal government will now create mini bridges in those areas that has been ravaged, but nothing. It is left undone. It is a death trap, and people are dying every day. So it is expected. It is safe to say that the federal government is involved in killing its citizens. And the state government. That would be a hard. No, it is safe to say, because while you see a death trap that is claiming life every day, that is causing insecurity. Those are those areas that people are there to now. Kidnapping activities are ongoing in those areas. If you now go to Benin, you see what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
so
the Ologbo Bridge itself.
So the state governors and the federal government they are involved in killing that cities. It is safe to say so, because I can imagine what the people are going through. And now the individuals that have gone through that level of flood, that have lost their properties and lives and everything, there is no plan to recoup such persons. Yeah, I wonder what they are doing with the 13.
Because that's where my next question will lie. Because basically in 2 months' time, at most, most of these water will definitely have come down, and there will be a need for most persons, especially those in IDP camps, to go back and restart their lives. Now let's look at that and how really important it is for government to ensure that it's not just only taking them away from their homes and putting them in a camp for safeguard within this period, but also having a master plan in resettling them back to their different communities. I want us to look at that also, but also look at what are the communities doing in this regard, because government will always tell you there are committees being set up. Government will always tell you, yes, so amount of money is being given, but can't the communities also do more, either on 2 accounts, to reach out to government, or also to see how they can also rearrange and transform the lives of the people in their different communities on account of this?
Now it is let it not be that I'm always on the attacking end.
Okay.
But the obvious will be stated. Some of those committee members, you see them living fat. Their account is fat, and their body, they are eating very large, because it's an avenue to embezzle monies.
Yes.
It's an avenue, to embezzle monies. And the reason why those monies are being approved, or those money are being collated, is not accounted for. So we want to ask the governors, the Delta State government, they should publish the monies that came in during the flood as a result of palliative and good-spirited individuals. Let them give us how did they spend those monies. In Bayelsa State, the governor should be able to now say, give an account of how they expended those money. Of course, at the end of those 2 months, they give some person 2 cups of rice, 3 cups of rice, Indomie, and the rest, and that solves it. It is not done like that. It's not done. There must be some level of seriousness by the government. Of course, you know that in the Niger Delta State, there's 13% derivation that is coming year in. Every month, that 13% is accrued to the state governor's coffers. And we want to know, how are they spending this money? How are they spending this money? I believe those money is for the protection of the life and properties of the people. Yeah. But last year, those persons that were ravaged by the flood, in 1 month time, up till now, they have not recouped. They have not been able to stand on their feet. So what is the government doing? We want to know. We are asking questions. The 13% derivation of last month, of last year, of this year, from January till now, what are they doing with it? What have they done with it? How have they used it to indeed protect the people? For instance, the flood is coming. Last year, the people have not recovered from it, and they are still expecting. You could see the level of mental issues that resulted as a result of last year flooding, coupled with COVID-19 and all of that, last year flooding. The mental people are still having mental disorders due to the shock of how the flood has ravaged. So there is high propensity of further mental damage, more mental destruction of our people, that are prone to this flood. And we have so many persons that are having those kind of mental challenges. The government need to stand up. The government need to see how they can reintegrate some of these persons that have faced those devastations back to society.
Okay, now you talked about something earlier, and we're talking about lasting solution to this, because it's now becoming a yearly occurrence. If it was maybe every decade, person would like, okay, well, let's do this before it comes. But let's look at what you said initially. And we're talking about the dams and how much of a lasting solution those dams will be if being created to help address this issue. Bayelsa State is one of the most hard-hit states when it comes to the issue of flood. And the Mine Delta is also a part of it. But knowing that the Bayelsa is more at the coastline, and especially with Nema's warning, he specifically talked about Bayelsa yesterday on his very report, saying that more needs to be done, especially at the coastal lines and coastal areas. Now, let's look at the issue of dam and the creation of it. And do you see this as a truly lasting solution? Looking at that dam in Adamawa and Taraba, and looking at even the more dams to be created down south here to help accommodate that huge volume of water on account of huge rainfall.
If the government, we want to believe in a Tinubu-led government that has, that transformed, quote and unquote, the Lagos State when he was governor of Lagos State. Yeah. We want to see his expertise in this light, in building the needed infrastructure. Because I wonder, since 2012 that flood has been an issue. I wonder why those dams are not completed. Why those dams and more are not created. If the government under the watch of His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu should see to it that from now, maybe at the end of the flooding season, it should see that at least 3 of those dams is functional. Because if those dams are functional, of course, we will not have the impact of the flooding. We will now just be battling with rainfall. The impact of the flooding will reduce drastically. And also, the dredging and the shoreline protection that should all go in the coastal line, that is the economic hub that is bringing the resources that is sustaining the heartbeat of this country, that is sustaining the country. There should be shoreline protection and areas that need to be dredged for the depth, for more depth, of water, so that it can accommodate more water. It should be done. These are practical steps that even state governors can start dredging some strategic areas so that the effects will be minimal. But for the dam, we are soliciting, we are appealing. The Joint Council is appealing and is soliciting the president of this federation that he should see to it that at least 3 dams are functional to see how they can accommodate the effect of this flood next year. Because last year, before the ending of the flood last year, they started giving ideas that the flood will be more next year. I'm sure after this year, Nema will also come with a report that is expected that the flood will come again. So the government must be deliberate to set up infrastructures that can ameliorate this crazy situation that we are in. The state governors too need to do their bit. They need to account for the 13% derivation. They need to now start do shoreline protection projects and do critical projects that will indeed minimize the effect of the flooding. Okay. Now, recently, kudos to the Delta State Governor. He has approved about 4 flyovers with 78 billion naira worth of projects. But it is for us as a Joint Council, we are also saying that those abandoned projects in our coastal lines, those abandoned projects, the Ozobo Road, those abandoned the Ayakromo Bridge, and some critical projects in the Ijaw territory should be completed. 78 billion has been approved. The Ayakromo Bridge is less than 6 billion naira to be into completion. It is struggling. For the last 12 years, that bridge has been suffering. In fact, since the inception of democracy in Delta State. Now, the Ozobo Road is also there. Because if these roads are constructed, if this bridge is constructed, the shoreline protection is done. Of course, the effect of this such devastation of flooding will be minimal. And economic activities, because when there's economic activity, there's low dependence on government. Yeah. So the people are self-sufficient. What brings economic activities in an area is effective road connection. And because when there is effective road connection, when there is power, of course, economic activity will be ongoing, and the people will not center on waiting on government to do certain things. Because if the people are empowered, if I'm empowered to dig my area so that the flood will not affect me, won't I do it? Something that will benefit me, I will do it. So the government is saddled with the responsibility, particularly to construct basic amenities, road at the coastal region, particularly the Ayagomo Bridge and the Ozobo Road, and some other critical bottom shoreline protection, and some critical infrastructure must be deliberately put in place to see how they can accommodate the effect of this flooding subsequently.
Well, anyway, I need to thank you so much on that, but I'll plead with you to hold on. We need to go on another break, and when we come back, we'll even make it far more interactive as we look at the recent warning coming from Nema that 13 states between yesterday and definitely on the 17th will be greatly affected by heavy rainfall and adding to the already high level of water on account of the release of the Lado Dam in Cameroon. But should we think about finding solutions, or rather dealing with the issue of finding lasting solution to deal with these constant rainfall, and not just that alone, but the flooding happening on account of it? But should more not also be done in the area of creating more of our dams? Should we not create dams, not just only to deal with the issue of accommodating the water, but also how economical it would be, especially as it concerns power generation and all of that? That will also be a part of our discussion when we come back from the break. Let's go on the break.